Okay, so we're going to do this guy here, and we want to make a little, make up a little. Ajax with a $2,500. Is it a machine? What does it say it is? Just equipment. Okay, it has a $500 residual value, and you want to do this in 5 years. So what you do is you take off, how much do you have to whittle off every year? So you take the $500 it's worth, you take that off of $2,500, because you're going to get that $500 back whenever you sell it at residual value. So that's $2,000 that you're going to have to write off every year, and you're going to do this for 5 years. So what you wind up doing is taking, I don't necessarily put the years down. What you're going to wind up doing is just taking 2,000 divided by 5, which is $400. So that means every year you need to depreciate this thing by $400. So I got a little table here, and we'll just write out the table. What's the depreciation cost of equipment. So I don't know if you noticed that, but the depreciation cost stays the same on your book here. So year one was $2,500, and then you're going to you depreciate it by 400. Accumulated depreciation at the end of the year. What's accumulated mean? Oops. So what's accumulated mean? Basically. Definition of accumulated. When you accumulate something, there's 4 inches. Yeah, it's built up, right?
I have a question. Where did you get the 5 years from?
That was just what Ajax decided.
Is it supposed to stand for how long you can depreciate? Or
Yeah, they're going to do this for 5 years. They're going to depreciate it every year for 5 years. That's what happens is, and a lot of times the tax code. If you look at the tax code, it tells you what kind of like if you had a truck, it tells you how long you can depreciate it for.
Yeah, because I know my parents were talking about like my car, how much it's actually worth now after it's depreciated and stuff like that. But I don't know as far as
The depreciation. I don't know if depreciation value of a vehicle, consumer-wise, is the same thing as what they're talking about here for business.
I wasn't sure.
It's the same idea. It depreciates in values and it's going down, but you didn't necessarily write off that depreciation every year. So
I was just wondering if it's something.
it's the same idea. I mean, if Ajax equipment, I'm sure they, as soon as they bought it, it's not going to hold its value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it could be any kind of equipment. So, but it just depends. Like it says here, Southwest Airlines, they'll depreciate their flight equipment 20 to 25 years. I was when I flew down to Jacksonville this week, and I looked out the window, and there was a little on the window. It had a little date on the side of it. It said 1990 on the window. So apparently the plane was at least, or that window was at least, 25 years old. 22 years old. So planes, I mean, you can't buy a plane, because what they do with the planes is they rebuild it every year. So the plane actually can hold its value. So a plane from 1975 is still $50,000, $60,000, $75,000 because they're just so highly maintained. But that's what this is talking about. We're gonna write off this money every year because we don't want to keep $2,500 on our books every year because it's not worth $2,500. So that's kind of the idea behind it. Okay. The book value at the end of the year. So at the end of the year, book value. So we're going to take our 25 minus 400. We get $2,100, right? And then year two. So kind of the idea here is you're not particularly. You're not going to say 2,100 here. You keep $2,500 here, and you depreciate it $400. But then you you keep up with how much you've accumulated your depreciation. And then that's what you take away from the 2,500. So then that would be what, 1,700? Take away another $400. In year 3, the cost was 2,500. You depreciated another 400. It accumulated up to $1,200 now. And then subtract that from 25, you get 1,300. In year 4, it was $2,500 for cost. Depreciated $400. You've accumulated $1,600 in depreciation, and then you take that off 25. You wind up with 9. In year 5, $2,500 minus 400. You wind up with a $2,100 accumulated. Oops. Yeah, it's 400. 2,000. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, it's $400. Yeah, I can't add. I can't read. And then it's $500 left over. And that's what you wanted to. You wanted it to come up to $500. That's what you wanted it to do. Because now you can get that salvage value of $500 out of it. So that seems really easy, right? And it really is. The only thing you have to worry about is partial years. So if you buy something before the 15th of the month, you don't count it. If you buy it after the 15th, you count that month. So if you're depreciating on a monthly basis, it says here, if a company buys an asset before the 15th of the month, the company calculates, before the 15th, the calculated depreciation for a full month. Companies do not take a full month assets but after the 15th of the month. So what's this? That doesn't sound right to me. So if you take, let's see, what does it say? Bought equipment on May 6th. So why would you have an 8 there if it says May 6th? Because May is 5. So what do you think? May is the 5th month, right? But why would you have an 8 there?
That should be a 7, shouldn't it?
Well, let's see. So the idea here is usually you don't buy things on January 1. Right? Okay. So.
Aren't they just counting it because if they did it on May 6th, that means you count that month? So the next one is May 6th.
Okay, so you buy something on, what does it say, May 6th? Is that what the date is? They say?
Yes.
May 6th. Now, May is the 5th month, right?
Right.
Okay, so May 6th is right in here. Now it says if it's before the 15th, you count the month.
Right.
If it's after the 15th, you don't. So what happens, this is before the 15th. Okay, so we're going to count this month here. So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months that you've had this year. The next year, you can count the whole month, the whole year, and so on and so forth. What happens is it's not, you don't worry about the 15th is the cutoff date, and if it's behind that, then you've had it for more than half the month. If you've had it after the 15th, you didn't have it for more than half the month, so you don't count it. So it's all about when you have possession of it. Or sometimes it's whenever you use it, but in this case, we're just going to say possession of it. So. So let's see if we can't make some use of that. Okay. So let's see if we can't prepare the depreciation schedule using the straight line depreciation for the following. The cost of a truck is $1,600. Oh, $16,000. Well, that's a neat, yeah, it's a cheap truck. Yeah, I know. The residual value. Can't read. Is $1,000. Okay. And the life expectancy is going to be 5 years. Paige, you were asking, where's that 5 years? It just is what it is for here, for this in this category. So we're going to make us one of these the same little table we just made, right? Same table. So we want the depreciation cost of equipment. We'll actually have the end of year one. End of year is what this first column is going to be. The second column is going to be the cost of the equipment. I'm just going to say cost. Is that okay? Is that okay if I just say cost? There. I'm going to have one column that's just cost. The next column we have would be our depreciation each year. The next one will be our accumulated depreciation at end of year. And then the book value will be at the end. Okay, so end of year one, it was $16,000. Now we got to figure out how much we're taking off a year, right? So how are we going to do that? How are we going to figure out that depreciation for yearly depreciation? Yep, I'd take the $16,000, right? And then subtract off the 1,000. Does that make sense? Because that's how much you want to take off this truck each. Eventually you want to take that much away. So that's $15,000. But now you want to do this over 5 years? Is what you want to do this over? So you divide that by 5. Excuse me. So you need to depreciate this thing $3,000 a year. Okay, so we're going to depreciate this for $3,000 a year. And, well, I didn't line that up very well, did I? No. So the accumulated amount for the first year is $3,000. And the book value at the end of the year would be $13,000. Does that make sense for the first year? Okay. Now, the $16,000 never stops, and the depreciation never changes. But your accumulated will, won't it? So I don't know if it wouldn't be that. I would just go ahead and come through here and do the whole thing. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I go ahead and just line them up. Just 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we want to take off another 3, so you have 10,000. Take off another 3, so you'd have 7. Take off another 3, you'd have 4. Take off another 3, you'd have 1,000. Then you can have an auction, get rid of that asset, turn it into cash, and then go buy another truck. That make sense? So the only part that might be tricky is say you didn't buy it at the beginning, you bought it on May 6th, so you couldn't take a whole depreciation off that first year. Okay. So let's see what would happen here. February 3rd. So I'm gonna go back to this little paper here. Right? I got my months lined up here. February 3rd would we February is the second month, right?
Yeah.
So I know I'm at least going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months. But do I include February?
Yes.
It's February 2nd, 3rd. So that's before the 15th. So we need to include all of February. So that would be 11 months. So for step 2, it would be 11 months that we need to worry about 11 months instead of a whole year. So if the truck were bought on February 3rd, what would the depreciation expense be in the first year? So what do you think we should do then?
2750.
How do you get 2750?
16 minus 1,000 divided by 5 equals 3,000 times 11 divided by 12 equals 2750.
Okay, so take our yearly depreciation that we found, and then just multiply it. Instead of the whole year, you take 11 out of 12, right? And what did you say that gives you?
2750.
Okay, that's 2750. So that's what we depreciate that year. And everything kind of gets off kilter a little bit, but
$250.
it'll wind up being all right at the end. So, does that sound all right? Depreciating things of that nature. Okay. So now let's look at 17.2. So unlike the straight line depreciation method, in units of production method, the passage of time is not used to determine assets depreciation amount. Instead, a company determines the assets depreciation according to how much the company uses the asset. This could be miles driven, tons hauled, units that the machine produces. When a company such as Ajax Company buys equipment, the company estimates how many units the equipment can produce. So Lindsay, I'm talking about the bank. This is probably not something the bank would look at, right? Because of those computers.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't. The only reason you get a new computer is because it's outdated, right? It starts being outdated. Sometimes it wears out, but that's all based on time. But if you look at maybe your coin counters, that thing could actually wear out, right?
You can, but yet we're still holding on.
Yeah, I mean, some of those are. I never did understand why people go to Coinstar.
Other ones like
Yeah, you go. Have you seen the Coinstars there at like Kroger's?
Yeah.
They charge you like 10%.
I think we're pretty high.
Do you? For
You
just
don't have
anybody?
an account.
Okay, well,
Yeah, that's just because it takes us time to.
checking accounts are free. So I don't understand why people don't.
Increase the value. It's killing people because, by 2013, SSI and Social Security have to be set up under a deposit by April of next year. And if you're still on it, they have to open up a check account. They want that check in their hand. They don't, the government taking over the office.
I just never understood why you would.
One of the pieces, I see what you're saying,
Yeah.
but then how reliable is the mail system?
Oh, it's not.
It's
Because
not.
the thing is, I've seen so many get their check stolen.
Why would you want to do it like that? I mean, that's the thing. I don't understand why you'd want all that. Well, I guess I do know why. They'd rather have a pocket full of cash, I suppose. Go and cash it somewhere.
Because they know they're going to get themselves in trouble write bad checks, or with our savings account. And with our savings accounts, the only thing is if you do 6 withdrawals in a 3-month period, we start charging $1 because it's technically the savings.
Yeah.
But if they just withdraw it out at one time, leave enough to keep it open,
Yeah,
it's no big deal.
I know.
It's no different than coming cash
Yeah.
a check. So,
Well, yeah, I don't see that to be an issue. I don't. At least I don't. But
no, I don't have that problem.
yeah, I do too. That was a big pain in my butt. Just trying to go deposit checks.
Get to the bank on the
Yeah, I don't like that. I like everything just directly out of my. Anyways, so Paige, you got a lip balm making machine somewhere, I suppose, and it's just chugging out lip balms, right? Yeah, it's not you
No,
just
it's
doing
not
everyone.
you.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But let's assume you did. You went and bought a big fancy machine, and that machine would has. It doesn't really have a lifespan. It has a unit lifespan,
Like a
basically.
computer type thing?
It's not particularly a computer. A computer would be that it has a lifespan of like so many years because it just becomes outdated.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Have you ever been somewhere like? I've watched Dirty Jobs, and some of these factories they have these machines that's been running
Right.
non-stop since the 1900s or something crazy. I don't know where. I don't remember where, but I've seen these like, in factories. They have these machines that keep on chugging out parts.
Right.
Keep on. Some of these machines have a lifespan on this. This is going to produce so many units.
Well, at the I do graphic design, so I'm gonna start getting equipment for that to do that. I actually want to open up a shop.
Right.
And like do business cards, they have machines that cut everything. And
Right.
Like that.
Right. And so that machine, and even if you're like going to get a print, like a copy machine, most of the time you can buy the copy machine or you can lease it from a company and they charge you by the print. So I know at Russell County High School, that's what we did. And they charged us by the print. We bought our own paper, but it's so much. We didn't have to buy these big, fancy, expensive machines. And plus, if it broke down, someone was going to be there within 20 minutes and they would fix it.
Yeah.
And if it was ours, there's no telling, right? So at a printing thing, I think that would be good. But then you don't really get the whole write off your taxes for this. You can't really depreciate something if you lease it.
Right.
But that's the idea behind it. The printing company could.
You can do that with lease payment.
Yeah, you can do that. But the good thing would be is if you had that printer, if you had that card cutting machine, you depreciate it, and then it was there, and you just kept on using it forever and ever and ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot of the like the graphic design type stuff applied to what we talked about last time as far as what are liabilities and what are assets and stuff.
Yeah.
Because once I get going, I mean, like all of my design programs and computers and everything I bought for it, I was going to use tax write-offs because essentially.
Yeah, we can, and when we get into 17.4, I'll print you off. I think I printed off. I think last time that gave you really. I just went on the government website and printed off this big, thick packet to tell you what's what, how you depreciate computers and programs, things of that nature. But that's a big thing, is especially if you have all these like AutoCAD and graphic design software suites that are several $1,000s and they want to upgrade every so often.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's the kicker, right? So if you can appreciate those and save on your tax bill, it'd be better. But anyways, here's what you do here. You do the same thing like that Ajax. Suppose they had that machine. It was a $2,500 machine. You still had a residual value of $500. But this time you don't go by years, you go by units produced. So the book says, what if it was, say, 4,000 units that this thing could produce? So you just take your numbers and divide them out. So it'd be 2,000 divided by 4,000. So 50 cents. You depreciate 50 cents per unit. So if you did this on your card making machine, right, and you just keep count how many cards you make in a year, and you take that amount times 0.5, that's what you depreciate off of it. So instead of just taking a straight up number off of it every year, you just take off that amount that you made. If you don't use your card, so one year was a bad year for card cutting machines. You didn't sell any cards, so you didn't use it any, so you don't depreciate it any because you didn't use it. So maybe the straight line method might be a little bit better because.
Yeah. At this point, I'm just going to school and having a business.
There you go.
So.
There you go. I just do this to print. Well, so there's a little practice quiz example here. It says, from the following facts, prepare a depreciation schedule, and a machine costs $20,000. What kind of residual value does it say there? $4,000. Okay. So we want to do this. Now what you have to do is look at how many units are produced. It says expect the 6,000 units over its lifetime. So we're going to do that same idea. We'll take our 20 minus 4, and we'll divide that by, what, 16,000 when it's all said and done? So that's going to be 16,000 over 16,000. So that's $1, isn't it? So $1. That's $1. Every time you make one, you get to depreciate your machine by $1. So what we're going to do is we'll talk about each year. We don't worry about the years, we just worry about the amount produced. So same idea. Year, your cost of equipment. Now it's going to be units produced. And then your depreciation expense, so your depreciation for that year. Then you're going to have your accumulated. And then your book value. And year. So year one, it cost you $20,000. That cost will never changes again. Right? That cost never will change again. So I'm going to go ahead and, how many years we got here? 2008, 1, 2, 5 years. Do you want to use the actual years instead of 1, 2, 3, 4? Would it be helpful, more helpful to do it that way? I think it would be. Still 20 grand each year. I'm going to go ahead and fill these in. Units produced. So somebody tell me, what was 08? How many they produced?
2,000.
Okay. And what about 09?
8,000.
And 010?
8,000.
Okay.
1,800.
All right. So we're going to depreciate it for the year, but it's $1 a unit, right?
Right.
So these units produced times them by $1, 2,000 bucks, and then 8,000 bucks, 3,000 bucks, 1,800 bucks, and 1,600 bucks. Now this last little number out here at the end of the book value at the end, what's the residual value supposed to be? It's supposed to wind up being $4,000, right? Okay, so remember that the end book value is supposed to wind up being $4,000. Let's make sure we can get that. That's the idea behind it, right? So accumulate each year. So the first year is just $2,000. It's the first year, and that gives us 18,000 bucks, right? Now the next year you've accumulated 2 and 8 makes $10,000 of depreciation. So your 20 minus 10 would be $10,000. I guess there's a different way of looking at it, right? You could just say, you could do the accumulated, like 20 minus 10 is that, or you could just say 18 minus 8 and 10 minus 3 and so on and so forth. So there's different ways of looking at it. What would you accumulate the next year? 13? So that gives you $7,000. Let's see, accumulated the next year will be 18 on this. That's 14, 8. So what would that be? 6, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5,200? Okay. And then you're going to take off another 16, so that'd be 15, 16, 4. No, 16. Where'd that come up? Oh, check this out. So I put my 1,600 bucks on there, right? I get 16,400. If I take another 1,600 bucks, what did I want? 52 minus $1,600. What would that be? Oh, that's below.
So you got to go back and you got to change that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. You can't go underneath that residual value. So I can't accumulate, I can't take the whole 1,600 off. So I need to take, the 12, I need a $400 too much. Does that make sense? I can't go any lower than 4,000. Because if so, I've screwed up. So this needs, that's 16. So I can't get any lower than 4,000. I need to change this to what, 12? 100. So that makes this 16,000. And that would make this 4,000. So you guys got to watch out about that last number. It has to wind up being $4,000. Does that make sense, Paige? That last, Ellie, what do you think? That last part, is that okay? So you need to be able to forecast how many years you're going to make this year, right? You know, this seems like it would be really hard to figure out because they start off with 2 and 8. And that is a huge year right here. I don't know, yeah, it seems like something worse and worse. So that might be the economy doing that. Of course, I would have thought that you had 8,000 here maybe, and then lower and lower and lower. Maybe there's a demand for something that year. I don't know what this was. What it was?
2009.
Just a machine, wasn't it? It didn't say what. This might be BlackBerry phones. BlackBerry, you don't seem to buy BlackBerry. I don't know, that's kind of a weird scenario. But the key behind this stuff is make sure you don't appreciate it fast. That's what that residual value. Because really, in the end, you're going to sell. You should be able to sell it for $4,000 anyways and make your money back out of it. So that's what we're looking at. You want to try any more of these out? You want to go home and try them out? Home? What do you think? Yep, that's what I was thinking. Look at what you'd be dealing with. So let's hop back here. Is what, A70 or something like that? A70, 80, A80, A79, and A80. Oh, here's something kind of neat, and we didn't look at it this way. But the drill problems here, it says find the annual straight line rate of depreciation. It's talking about the rate. So let's look at this real quick and let's see what you think. You can't really see that, but annual rates. The first one has a life of 25 years. It doesn't take anything besides the lifespan of it. So if the lifespan was 25 years, and the rate, this is called a straight line rate. Annual straight line rate. So how do you think they got 4% in this? Well, the next one's 10 years, and they got 10%. And the next one is 8. Well, let's not use 8. The next one is 4 years, and they got 25%. Yeah, what you do is if you want to figure out, kind of like before, there's that Ajax company. It was $2,500, right? Right. And it was 5 years. And you took away $500. So it's 2,000 divided by 5, which is $400. Right? Well, if you're thinking about this, you're trying to depreciate this thing all the way down to 0, or at least down to a number here, right? So what if I took the 100% of that thing's worth, divided it by 5, what would we get? 20%, right? So 20% of,
2,500.
well, check it out, 25 or 2, what do you think?
Well, I divided 2,000 by 100 and I got the same thing.
And that's just because it didn't work out that way. Yeah, I could change these numbers, and it wouldn't work out that way. But if I don't change this. Okay, so don't do it that way. You always take, if you take your percent 100 divided by the years, it'll tell you the straight line rate. And what you can do is you can figure out that residual number, that number there, and 2,000 times 2. Each $400. That's how much you depreciate each year. So you can do it as a rate instead. The reason why I'm going with this is because there's like a double, if you take that rate and double it in the next section. So this is how they're getting it. They're just taking 100 divided by 25. So it's 4% a year. And 100 divided by 10. That's 10% per year you're depreciating. And 100 divided by 4, 25%. That's your straight line rate. Does that make sense? Straight line rates. Okay. And there's a little snippet of that. I forgot to point that out. There's a little snippet about it right here on page 415. The depreciation schedule for straight line method, you take 100% divided by the number of years. So in that example, it was 100 divided by 5, which is 20%. Thus, the company is depreciating the equipment at 20% rate each year. Okay, so number 2 says find the annual depreciation using the straight line depreciation method. So we just want to know the annual depreciation every year. So if I look at number 2A, cost of asset was $2,400, $2,460. The residual value was 400. So what would you do with those two numbers? Subtract them, and then you divide by 4. So $515 is what you would end up taking on. Let's try number 3A. So number 3A, find the annual depreciation and ending book value for the first year. That's all he wants the first year. So the cost is $6,700, and then you subtract off your residual. What is 67 minus 600? 61. Okay. Then take off it's 3 years is the useful life. So divide that by 3. What do you get? Okay, so 20. Yeah, just it's round to the nearest dollar is what it says in the directions. So don't worry about change in this case. So 2,033, and then you take that off what the cost, right? So 6,700 minus the 2033 should wind up with 460. Yep, $4,667. Let's do this. Let's do one that's part of the year here. Number 4. So we want to find the first year depreciation to the nearest dollar for the following assets. So you purchase it on April 8th. Oh no, where'd my little calendar go? Well, let's just see if we can write it. April is what, the 4th month? January, February, March, April. I put an 8th. So April is the 4th month, and is it before the 15th or after? It's before, right? So I include the 14th. I include April. So how many months would I have if I include the April here? 9. You're not including 3 of them. So 12 minus 3 is 9. So 9 months out of 12. That's what we're working with. So the cost of the asset was 10.5. The residual is 1,200. So help me out. What was 10.5 minus 1,200? Okay. And the lifespan is supposed to be 4 years. So what would that be? 9,300 divided by 4. So that's my depreciation for the year, but we didn't use the whole year, right? So we better take 23, 25, and times that by 9 out of 12. 23, 25 times 9 out of 12. And 1744? So what you guys got? So it rounds up to the nearest dollar. So round everything to the nearest dollar if you can. So that year you depreciate at 1744. And then the next year you can take a full 23, 25 off. That make sense? So let's check over here too. And then you got the word problems there. You can be working on the word problems there. I don't see anything too crazy about what we've been doing in 17.2. Do you? Do you think that looks depreciation per unit? They ask depreciation per unit. You just find depreciation per unit and multiply by how many you got. Really, that's what you got to do. Place down. I'd ask you what's the hardest part, but I don't think there's a hardest part. What do you think, Paige?
I think it's not fairly self-explanatory.
Yeah. I think so too. So if it was me, what I'd prefer you to do is look over 17.1 and 17.2 and look over your word problems. Make sure you can do the fill in the blank ones, but make sure you can do the word problems as well. That's what I'd be looking at. So this is where we'll stop, and we'll have our test over everything up to 17.2, and then Wednesday, not tomorrow, but the next day, Wednesday the 14th, we'll do a test review, and it will cover. Did we talk about home ownership on that last test? A mortgage, home mortgages. Oh. I don't think we did, did we?
Test 3.
Test 3 didn't have anything about home mortgages, did it?
No, that's what we started on.
Okay. So we're going to cover chapters 15, 16.1, and then up to 17.2. And that's pretty much all of 15 was the home mortgages, and then all of 15. That's basically all the home mortgage stuff. And 16 was the accounting kind of stuff, and then up to 17.2 is what we covered